Welcome to the Georgia Show. I tell you what, we at CDM and on the Georgia team, we are pushing our people really hard. Bill is in the trenches every day and gets sick sometimes, but keeps going. So, Bill, thanks for being here tonight. Really appreciate it.
You bet. Yeah. Unfortunately, when you're down in the trenches, sometimes you get trench foot.
That's true. That's true. But the team is working hard. I hope everybody can see all the volume of news we're putting out across the network. It's really exciting times. It's really challenging times. But wow, what a great time to be alive, and what a great time to be in independent media. I mean, I read an article this morning that said the most powerful force in the world right now is independent media, and I would have to agree with that. So, welcome to the Georgia Show. We're brought to you by the Georgia Record, GeorgiaRecord.com. We need your help. We need support. We don't get paid by Pfizer or USAID. I can guarantee you that. And we do have a no ad subscription that you could sign up for, and it's $10 a month or $100 a year, and you get access to all of our content. We are in the process of building an Asian site. It's going to be very exciting. We're going to have direct news out of Asia, India, and across the whole Asian region. So stay tuned for that, but that will be included in this. And I know people don't like ads, but look, we got to survive and make money. So we're actually back on the ad networks after being censored for 5 years. So I'm sure you'll see the ads on the site. We're trying to fine tune them and make sure everything works really well. But if you don't want pop-ups on your phone or any kind of ads, go to and sign up for the no ad subscription, and we would appreciate your help. Thank you. Bill, what do we got tonight, my friend?
So we're going to cover several topics. We're going to hear right up front, we're going to hear from Mallory Staples, the director of the Georgia Freedom Caucus. She's going to talk about some of the bills that are in play, some of the ones that are good, some of the ones that are no good. And we're going to hear their opinion on those. They also have some upcoming events that we want to hear about. And the Freedom Caucus continues to play a critical role in people's thinking when so many legislators seem to be looking the other way for reasons we can't understand. We're also going to cover an update on the tort reform bill. It has had some additional funny gyrations that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the status and as a reminder, as we get into convention season, of the Georgia GOP, the Georgia Republican Party, and the mysterious Georgia Republican Party, Inc. that actually you discovered during the 23 convention, and we've reported on many times since. We're also going to take a look at nationally some of the stuff that's going on with the files and disclosures that everybody's been looking for, and there seems to be something odd there. So we'll talk about that, if that's not enough.
Well, you said you had some insight prior to the show. You said we're making progress in some areas, and some areas we're really not. And obviously that one is a big one, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to give it to you and let you bring in our first guest.
Okay, very good. Mallory Staples, thank you so much for joining us. Mallory, as everybody recalls, is the director of the Georgia Freedom Caucus. So thank you for making time tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys very much.
I imagine you guys are just about as busy as we are, yet a lot of your work is done pawing through the bills that are being produced and also talking and learning from the folks down under the Gold Dome. So we have a few things prepared from your last Substack, if you wish to use them. So tell us where you want to start.
Well, I think I'm going to have to start with today because it is fresh on my mind and absolutely unbelievable. I just had to make a video and put it up on social media about what happened in the Senate chamber today. I was driving home listening to Dan Bongino do one of his final podcasts, before stepping in the deputy director position.
Yep.
Praises with the FBI. And he mentioned a really impressive figure. He said 70% of the American people want to see the government shrink spending and decrease spending. And that alone, just shows the like-mindedness of the country, that we're really in the middle of a cultural shift. And that we as conservatives and independent media, to Todd's leading comment, we own the narrative. And so it's that's really encouraging. But what was so discouraging is I was driving home from the Capitol, where I had been sitting in the Senate gallery chamber watching in our red state of Georgia with our Republican majorities, watch the Senate chamber pass the largest budget in the history of the state of Georgia. And they did it with only one dissenting vote, which of course was Senator Colton Moore, Vice Chairman of the Georgia Freedom Caucus. And this bill, I mean, the growth in our budget here in the state of Georgia is really obscene. It's outpacing all the normal metrics. We are going to be at year end over $8 billion in debt. We're going to pay $1.3 billion to service that debt. We are not auditing. We are not stopping and assessing and seeing how the money that's been taken in is being used, if it's being used well. We're not accounting for it. That consciousness that the people have, the demand, what the people want, is not being felt by the legislators in the General Assembly and the Senate chamber. And they're the more conservative. So you know it's going to fly through the House chamber under the direction of John Burns. So that's just jaw dropping to me. And literally I wrapped up my video and I just said, how tone deaf do you have to be? Like, what is it actually going to take in the state of Georgia for our elected officials to do the will of the people? So that's just straight out of the chute tonight. One of the more remarkable things I've seen. There is no talk of sending it back to committee, telling them to do better, reappropriating funds. I don't know, shrinking the size of government like we're seeing on the federal level to the applause of 70% of the nation. So that right there is just, it's horrible. It's horrible for the citizens of the state of Georgia. There is no appetite for it. That's what's so discouraging. There is no appetite by our elected officials to cut spending by the government. It's just not there. And when you look at, and Colton's speech was fantastic. I highly recommend you guys highlight it. Like, one of the actual proper roles of government, which is transportation, is we are severely lacking when compared to our neighboring states on infrastructure, transportation specifically. So what the money they do have, they're not using well. They're taking in too much of it with a $16 billion surplus. And we're in debt and paying exorbitant prices to service our debt. So there's
you mentioned that. You mentioned that earlier. I want to make sure people understand exactly what you said, because it is a substantial fraction of the overall budget. We're going to end, based on this latest ask, if you will, by the legislature at about $40 billion. Is that approximately right?
Mm-hmm.
So of that, most people think Georgia doesn't have debt because they always talk about, well, we always produce a balanced budget and, you know, all that stuff. Well, what most people don't realize is we have $8 billion in debt sitting there that has to be serviced. It's being serviced, as you said, to the tune of, was it 1.6 or a little bit more $billion per year?
I was thinking like 1.3, 1.4, but okay. I'll have to go look at my notes. I haven't.
What, Mallory, is it on a credit card?
I was going to say, what we're talking about here, if you reduce it to like a family's budget, it sounds like credit card rates, which is in and of itself, you know, unconscionable.
I mean, nobody within the sound of our voices would teach their teenagers to budget this way. Their college students to budget. They're newlyweds setting up homes. This is not even sound advice that you would give to a stranger. Yet our elected officials do this, and they not only do it, they do it while they break their arm, patting themselves on the back for doing it. I mean, literally, there is a psychosis going on here that it's alarming to the normal person. It really is. I'm incredulous.
Well, somebody's making a lot of money there, obviously, and they don't want to refinance that debt. So do you have any insight into, are there any crooked deals, like that Bubba owns a bank who's loaning the Georgia money and he's getting a higher than market rate, or what?
I mean, I don't know specifically, but Todd, you absolutely know Bubba owns a bank. I mean, it is going down. It is going down in Georgia. I mean, we continue to be shameful and disgraceful. I mean, it truly, and it's such an easy fix. And this is what I tell the grassroots all the time. Quit letting them tell you it cannot be done. Donald Trump and his team are evidence to the fact that you can do anything. Because if you think it's a big deal to wrangle the state budget here in Georgia, look at what our president is doing on a national level. It can absolutely be done. It goes back to the word I just used, appetite. There is no appetite for it, which is why these people have to be voted out of office, and logical, sensible people need to be put in. Folks like us, regular old folks who will just, for the love of all that's sane, do the right thing where they
Yeah.
don't balance the will my bill get this? Will I get on this committee? Am I going to get that, campaign donation from that lobbying group? And they don't even do that. They just like Colton, just like Charlize and Noel, they're like, is it the right thing to do for the citizens today? Come what may tomorrow. And we do not have many leaders like that. And that is the problem for the citizens of the state of Georgia, because it's not a complicated thing to fix.
No,
You audit, you see who's using their money well. I mean, I don't think that it should be a foregone conclusion that every single agency and organization and arm of the government gets all the money they had the year before. Why do they not have to show that they used it well?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like these federal employees that are like, wait, you want me to tell you what I do? You want me to explain to you my value and my worth? And the American people, to the tune of 70%, are going, yeah, we actually do. And Donald Trump is saying, yes, we do, or you're fired, and that's what we need to do in the state of Georgia. And there's very little appetite for it.
You're in direct alignment with something that Trump sent out, I think today. And he told agencies all across the government to prepare for massive transitioning and a reduction in force, a RIF. Now, folks from the corporate community who've been through these, me included, I've had to implement them. I've had to be on the receiving end a time or two. But these are essentially saying, hey, we don't need this number of people to do what we should be doing. And he's talking about massive change, and also telling the heads of agencies, you need work between now and March 18th to be prepared for what we are going to implement. And they have to come up with their own plans to be able to do better with fewer people, because right now they've got they have too many people, but they're doing a poor job.
Yes, they have too much money, too many people, and they need to trim the fat. And in the state of Georgia, they need to trim the fat, the cronyism, the waste, it's that whole thing of third-party spending. It is never going to have the level and the standard of scrutiny for fiscal responsibility that it does when you're spending your own money. And we need elected officials that are cognizant of the fact that they are actually spending their own money. This is the taxpayers' money. We are all taxpayers. And it's
so let me ask you this: if there's an $8 billion debt load, $16 billion surplus, and you could save $1.5 billion by just paying off the debt, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's
not use up all your cash.
Yes.
That's not rocket. I mean,
no, it's not complicated. As Trump is showing us, it's not complicated. It's just there is no desire here.
It's incentives. It's the incentive structure.
How is it that with all this going on, these guys can roam around under the Gold Dome and pretend they don't see what's happening at the national level? I mean, it's almost like they've got horse track blinders on, where I can't see what's going on in the real world, that they're actually right-sizing things. They're taking out people.
Right.
They're finding fraud and theft and abuse.
Yeah.
Do they not think that with the same level of scrutiny here in Georgia, these same things wouldn't be found? And by gosh, isn't it funny that just this week, we see this thing go on with the Hyundai plant up in Rome, with apparently hundreds of illegals. Now we're talking a little bit apples to oranges, but if we aren't willing to recognize that there's real problems, like what was discovered this week, we're never going to fix them. And so they will be found. I'm quite certain. It's just a question of who and when, I think.
Yeah, it is. There's a duplicity of mind, which we know is never a good thing. And they literally compartmentalize, and it is seal clapping to leadership. I'll do whatever you want. And the money machine that funds the leadership and the establishment. And then they go back into district and say whatever the citizens are expecting to hear. And there's like not a consciousness that connects those two things. And we got to get these people out. If we want to save our state, we got to get these people out.
Well, you talked about the budget. You've also made some observations regarding some of the other legislation. Can we take a few minutes and go through that?
Yeah,
Great.
we did real well. I love that picture. We started off at, straight out of the chute with SB1, SB21, and SB39. And those were big wins. That was getting the boys out of the girls' locker rooms. That was
Yep.
not allowing sovereign immunity for officials who facilitate sanctuary cities. And then it was not using taxpayer dollars to pay for state employees transgender surgeries and things, a terrible precedent that Chris Carr set as the AG when he settled a case. So we had some wins straight out of the chute. One more happy thought is this SB 28, which is the rollback, red tape rollback, carried by Senator Greg Dolezal. They're calling it the Lieutenant Governor's Bill, which brings a level of transparency to these government departments and agencies that we have not seen. So those are all positives, and the SB 28 is expected to make it through, which is awesome. A couple of other good pieces of legislation would be SB 168, which is a Freedom Caucus bill to get rid of the state income tax in 6 years rather than 54, which is the governor's plan, 54 years. And then we have companion legislation that Colton and Charlize are carrying in each chamber, which protects your Second Amendment rights and gives you a cause of action should a government agency infringe on your Second Amendment rights. So those are like the high points. We've got a couple of bills, HB 107 and 296, which are both digital ID bills. So we don't love that. They've come back again for the guns with HB 79, which is de facto gun registration.
Is that
tax
the
penalty
safe? Is that the gun safe bill?
Yeah, that's a gun safe bill for sure. And then out of nowhere, I don't know if you guys were aware of HB 81, which was this bizarre compact bill for psychologists that put us in a compact with really liberal states like New Jersey and Colorado. It's like an occupational licensing bill, but it was this bizarre.
This was one of the clauses that used to live in Bill 520.
Yeah. Yes. It has a mental health stench to it, and and that passed in the House. We'll see what the Senate does with that. But when you go to litigate issues around that licensing, they have to be dealt with in DC. Like as a state, we're literally acquiescing our sovereignty to deal with these types of issues, and they have to be dealt with in DC. So super bizarre bill. And the only two no votes in the chamber were Noel Kahan and Charlie Spurd, Freedom Caucus members. And when other reps came up to them to berate them for how dare they step out of line voting on this bill, and they brought up points, and the particular representatives were like, oh, I didn't know that was in there. And they were like, did you read it? And of course they hadn't. So we're just, the system is so broken. And then our hill to die on this session is HB 268, which you want to talk about a replica of the mental health bill. It has a lot of that yucky stuff that the 520 and 1013 had in it over the past several years. The, Big Brother surveillance component, the statewide database, fines and potential jailing as a parent if you do not comply with sharing all your children's records. I mean, I could go on and on and on. So that's a big, ugly one, which we are watching very closely, and we'll call the grassroots to get out and tackle and beat that one down. And then obviously in the headlines consistently has been the tort reform bill, SB 68, which we've outlined. Honestly, I don't think that bill would have gotten the type of pushback that it got had the governor not stepped in, because the night before we had on good intel, good word that there were 5 to 8 senators who were concerned about the bill for various reasons and weren't going to vote on it. Well, then the governor came out and, threw down the gauntlet and said, I'll end your political career if you don't pass this bill, and you're not even allowed to amend it, which had it been amended, because there were some virtuous components of the bill, some things that were practically needed for excessive litigation that would have been beneficial in and of themselves. They weren't able to do that, and the governor scared these senators, and so everybody, of course, but Colton passed it, and then that clip of him went viral, and then on and on and on we go. So it just it's unfortunate because they could have cleaned that bill up with the concerns that were already present in the Senate, and it most likely would have gone in that direction. But the governor stepped in and laid down the law.
It felt like somebody reached right through Kemp and did that, didn't it?
Yeah, and you can only imagine who that was. But I mean, he is a darling of the chamber, that's for sure. And that is a bill that they are very pleased with. So who knows, though? Who will ever know what's actually said or done? But it is certainly suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So one of the other things we wanted to make sure reaches the public is you've got an event coming up on the 18th of March. Tell us about this.
Yeah, we're super honored to have an original House Freedom Caucus member and founder, Mark Meadows, who is Donald Trump's former chief of staff. He, like Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon, Rudy Giuliani, have been a target of the Biden administration DOJ. They have tried to ruin his life for his loyalty and commitment to the law. In addition to that, President Trump. So he's just a warrior. I mean, Mark's impressive. He also was instrumental in founding the CPI, the Conservative Partner Institute up in DC, which the network is an offshoot of that. So he just really is on the forefront of freedom. And then my favorite congressman, Ralph Norman, also a Freedom Caucus member out of South Carolina, just an incredible guy. Not his first trip to Atlanta to support this girl. So he's amazing. And they're coming in to raise some money to support Colton. The Freedom Fund is the PAC that I happen to be chairman of that supports growing the Freedom Caucus. We obviously need more members here in Georgia. South Carolina has 18, 19 members. Georgia, we can only find, a handful.
But you gained one this session, so that was good.
We did. We gained Noelle Cahan, and what a gift she is. So we're very proud of that. So we're going to do a lunch, which is more of an intimate environment. So it'll be, an event that gives folks the opportunity to actually speak to them, discuss things with them, photos. The club's an amazing venue, so we're really excited, and we just so appreciate them coming in. They're disgusted that nothing has been done in regards to Senator Moore's assault and arrest and violation of his civil liberties and constitutional rights. So They're coming to Atlanta to throw a little love. By the way, supporting us.
That's great. So that'll be on March 18th. Folks can get tickets if they go to your site, and we actually have this up with a link to acquire tickets on the Georgia Record, georgiarecord.com as well. So from what I understand, there's a lot of people lining up really quickly to be part of it. So folks better get on their horses, huh?
I mean, I knew it would be successful, and you and I spoke earlier today, but an hour and a half into it, and you were the first person to post it on social media. I just sent it out to people that I know that align with us, and we were more than halfway sold out, on our way to 2/3 being sold out an hour and a half after I just started texting it to people. So I have no doubt that by week's end we'll be maxed out on that event, and I'm so excited to be able to tell the congressman and former chief that it's a compliment to them.
It is. All right. Great event. Great work so far. I know you got your hands full. Thank you for making time.
Thanks,
and
Mallory.
we will look forward to the next updates, Mallory.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.
Take care.
Okay. Great work there by the Georgia Freedom Caucus, Mallory's team. Should we take a break?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about something near and dear to my heart here. Hold on one second. So this is Nucleo Boost. It's a new product we developed with the Caravan to Midnight team, John and Brindy Wells down in Texas. They're on Salem radio across the country every night. One of the things we do here is we press for our people really hard. And one way to keep everybody running smoothly is if you take this once a day, you really, it's all the nutrients your body needs, all the building blocks. So, and it has ingredients which actually help insert it into your cells at the cellular level, the BioAllo, which I thought was a joke, but I looked it up and it is actually true. So I'm going to run an ad from them, but go to cdmnutrition.com for our audio audience. Check the subscription out. The monthly subscription is cheaper that way. But I want you to hear what John has to say.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight. And then eventually, I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You are not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back, cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
So we're really proud of that product. Go to cdmnutrition.com and check it out. And I can tell you, everybody has a different experience, but for me, it's the stamina. Every day I get up with fresh energy and I'm raring to go. I sleep well, which was not the case a few months ago before I started on this. So back to you, Bill. Who do we got next?
Okay, we're going to give a quick update to the tort reform bill we just heard a little bit about. So we're going to breeze through this, but another couple of strange moves appear to have been made with this. And we're not sure whether, our information that's going out is influencing this, whether it's just some weird internal, politicking going on. We don't know. But here we go. So we published through the Georgia Record, again, another update this week. We, reminded folks that this thing started with Kemp making this, gigantic overture that tort reform is so critical, must be done, and would be done either in this session or perhaps another session later this year, hinting at a special session of all things. And he's got, John Burns and Burt Jones backing him up. And you can see John Burns in part of this video. I'm not going to show it right now, but part of the video kind of smirking and shaking his head a little bit, a little bit like, yeah, we'll show you. So then we reported extensively on how would this be so critical? Why is this such an agenda? Once we get a chance to read it, we started reporting what was in the bill and compared notes with trial attorneys and learned what we thought was there was in fact there. And this thing is meant to support not consumers as they would have you believe, but it is grounded in saving cost and preventing big verdicts against insurance companies, corporations, and ostensibly property owners, fairly big property owners in many cases. Once that hit the ground and some senators began balking a little bit, Kemp then threatens, as Mallory just mentioned a few minutes ago, to introduce primary challengers against Republicans, his own party. So, how much more do you have to act like a dictator, like a king, before people start saying, wait a minute, what the devil is going on here? That he would start trying to take members of his own party out. After it did pass the Senate a couple days ago, after it passed, Burt Jones took the time to issue this post on X saying, this is not an anti-lawyer or pro-insurance company bill. This is a pro-Georgia consumer bill. Well, again, we went back to our contacts, and basically they said that's not true. I mean, look at who's behind it. The people backing this are all insurance industry folks. There's another company or another organization beyond the one that we have already talked about that has become involved. They too are a Chamber of Commerce, insurance lobbyist-led group, and so this is absolutely based on the wishes of primarily the insurance business. And if you look at prior efforts, because this is nothing new, we've also begun to learn from around the country that tort reform has been practiced or sought after in a number of states. Some have already moved toward it. They often call it tort reform, but it takes different forms depending on what the insurance companies in that state want. So again, it goes back to who wants this? The insurance companies. So we reported in the last 48 hours that a very unusual step had been taken by John Burns. Normally, when a bill passes the Senate, it would go over and go into one of the specialist committees over in the House, Judiciary or Governmental Affairs, as you see here, something like that. That didn't happen in this case. John Burns, apparently, at his own discretion, took this bill once it passed the Senate and dropped it directly into rules, thereby bypassing one of the normal steps that would provide consideration, probably discussion, probably the opportunity for public comment in one of these committees. That doesn't exist now because he pulled it across that step. And so what the heck is going on? Why are these guys continuing to push this so hard? And then late today, we learned that John Burns had said, oh, well, there is forming a subcommittee underneath rules to handle this particular bill. Again, unusual special steps apparently made to make it look like everything's fine, but make sure this bill passes. Why?
Well, you've got to look at the macro environment. You've got RFK and HHS, who today just canceled some big ticket dollar vaccine trials, mRNA vaccine trials.
Yep.
So, there's accountability, and there's a new sheriff in town. So they got to protect the balance sheet is essentially what's happening, right?
It appears to be something akin to that. Now, is it broader than that, or is it something very specific? There seems to be a level of urgency that would suggest this has to happen in a given time frame.
Yeah.
But again, as we said in past days, we are not going to back off of this. We continue to absolutely believe that our assessment of this and the assessment of the attorneys that we've consulted is in fact correct. This thing benefits insurance companies, corporations, property owners, and few others. People will promise, the legislators will promise some sort of cost abatement for consumers. But if you ask, in previous states where this has been done, have we seen actual cost reductions? You'll be hard pressed to find any that would even claim that had ever happened.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure we stay up to speed on this. We expect more movement in the coming days. But as Mallory had stated a few minutes ago, there just seems to be this tone deafness that we don't care what the public thinks. We don't care what they want. This is happening. Let's get it done.
This is a nationwide theme. I was talking with John Ritchie on Output this morning in Arizona. Katie Hobbs is not concerned about the voters because she knows she's going to be selected no matter what. So there's a huge disconnect between the politicians and the grassroots people and what each side wants. And the politicians are just doing what they want, irrespective of the voters' wishes.
That's right. And so when you think about things like, do we still have a continued problem in our election processes? How could it be any other when they don't seem to be concerned at all about true public opinion and the public's assessment of the work that our legislators as you correctly point out, legislators elsewhere in the country, what kind of work are they doing, and are they representing the people, or are they running their own playbook?
Has Kemp said anything about Trump's comments to the governors that he wants paper ballots?
I have not seen him make a comment about that. He was in the room, we are told, along with the other governors, and many called it out and said, see, hope you're listening, because this is the direction that Trump is defining. And yet, like the rest of this, we see folks quickly trying to move in other directions. They're still considering additional investment as requested by Raffensperger that would simply try to plug holes in the machines that we have, but make virtually no substantive structural change. Wouldn't get rid of machines, would not move to hand counting and hand paper ballots, as has been suggested with a capital S by President Trump.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're going to stay on this, but wow, just a lot going on.
It is indeed. Shall we hear from Mr. Cross?
Yes, please. David Cross is our financial advisor in residence, and he's a huge supporter of this show and of Truth, and just a great guy working for Truth in Georgia. So support him like he supports us. If you have a big decision in your life, financially, a death, a divorce, a sale of a business, or whatever, estate issues, talk to David. It's his specialty, and he'll take care of you.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Hey, Bill, we got one comment real quick. Rebecca Colley says, thank y'all for keeping us informed in Georgia. We appreciate the comments, Rebecca. Thank you.
It's our job in life, and we are pleased to do it. Okay, shall we move on to our next topic?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So this one actually begins with something that you reported beginning back in June of 23 regarding a strange corporation that appeared to have been formed around the Georgia Republican Party. Why don't you just give us a brief overview of how this first kind of emerged?
Well, we saw the video that McCune made, and if you can watch the video, it's on YouTube, I believe. I know it's on the Georgia Record if you search for it. And he's going through the different things he wants to do when he gets elected. And he said that thing about the members just want to be members.
We actually have that if you'd like to play it.
Yeah, go for it.
Count on your support. That's excellent. We're going to do great things after the state convention on Saturday. So I've been thinking about this Republican Party stuff.
No, I'm sorry.
All the things I want to do.
Okay.
And I think we can do the pre-planning in about 48 days.
Okay.
Roughly 7 weeks. There's a lot to do. 7 weeks, 7 initiatives, 7 mountains.
Okay.
Week 1, assessment. Who are we?
Okay.
Where are we going? What works? What doesn't work? The corporate stuff. It's a mess. Members, they just want to be members.
Okay.
Are you getting this?
Okay.
So key in on those exact words. The corporate stuff, it's a mess. Members just want to be members.
And they still want to be members.
That's exactly right.
Years later.
But one of the reasons we wanted to go back into this, we are entering convention season, and people are asking questions about, wait a minute, why I'm being asked to pay money to this Georgia Republican Party Inc. What is this? And, I don't remember this years ago. I may have seen it last year, but what is this? What's going on? They know there's some sort of an issue, but now in the fullness of time, when you go back and look at what's happened, and especially some of the court filings that were done during the Padgett GOP case, GOP Inc. case this past year, you begin to get a clearer picture that there's something really unusual sitting here. And what it means, what it doesn't mean, we don't know all of it yet, but we know something's there. It's kind of like, the curtain shaking in front of Oz's, at the front of Oz's throne room. There's something there. So we wanted to take people back through this instance. You issued this article that explained the creation of this corporation during the time of John Padgett being the head of the GOP. This goes back some number of years. Most people didn't even know it was there. They didn't notice it in the first few years. Some activists, some grassroots activists, elsewhere in Georgia started looking and discovered it and began reporting, hey, there's something here. What is this corporation? Well, and then during the course of last year, there were documents filed. As a matter of fact, we had asked that the agreement itself still be available for the public and ostensibly GOP members to be able to review. It should be available to them. They paid for it. They paid for the litigation that went on now for a number of years. We find this document that was filed by McCune and by his attorney, Alex Kaufman, for the Georgia Republican Party, Inc. Within that document, down on page 1, look at what it says. The GAGOP, which refers to the Georgia Republican Party, Inc., is a nonprofit entity that has no members. And then I think they try to soften it by saying in the traditional sense of a for-profit corporation. This isn't a for-profit corporation. It's a nonprofit corporation, but it has no members. So where are the members, and why can't we find any documents with regard to a party by itself?
Those documents still haven't been located, correct?
That's correct. You may recall that in past months, last year, I believe it was, I had personally asked Josh McCune to help me find any of the documents that show that the Georgia Republican Party, not the Inc., but the party, was in existence. And after some discussion at the Gwinnett GOP meeting, he agreed to help me with that and help me secure those. Unfortunately, was never able to get Josh to actually fulfill that. And if you go up to the Georgia Record, georgiarecord.com, you'll find every document that we're covering here, so you can download them and review them yourself. Again, here's this strange quote that says, the GAGOP has no members. But guess what? When you look at the rules of the Republican Party for Georgia, Inc., look what it has in the document. It uses the word member or members 100 times. How could that be?
Yeah.
And there's the rules. This has been in place. That particular version of the rules has been in place since 2020. But how could you have a rules document that lists members, membership, and members, everything, and yet you say in your documents there are no members?
Essentially, it looks like they're trying to use the party rules for the corporation. Correct?
It looks like that. It looks like they're masquerading behind one another. Here is the actual. This is an excerpt. It's pulled so that you can actually read it. But you'll notice this is the articles from the Articles of Incorporation when they actually formed the Georgia Republican Party, Inc. It says right down at the bottom, and they even misspelled it. They were doing such a great job. The corporation, so corporation, will not have members. So if people are thinking they're a member of the Georgia GOP, what are they a member of? Well, not the Georgia GOP, Inc. We also, just to put another wrinkle in this, as part of this whole process, the court case that was being held last year between Padgett and the Georgia Republican Party, Inc. had an agreement that was being discussed in the context of that court case. Josh McCune and Alex Kaufman asked the court to seal that, meaning keep it from the public eye. That's a very unusual thing to do in Georgia court cases. You normally do not seal documents unless there's something unbelievable in them. Often if there's a gruesome, death case and there's pictures and things like that, sometimes those will get sealed. Sometimes, certain things that are telling about individuals get sealed. But it seems very odd that in what is purported to be a party, a Republican Party for Georgia, that the Republican Party members, the people that belong to it or think they do, would not be allowed to see this agreement, nor would any member of the public. They also asked that it be sealed in perpetuity. That means forever. Mm-hmm. Remember when JFK was assassinated, and after the documents there were sealed, they weren't even sealed forever. They were sealed for, I've forgotten how many years the first time, but the point is, sealing them forever is unheard of in almost all cases. So where does that leave us? Well, we have more to say about this, and we will do so in the coming days through other articles and other findings. We want to make sure that people walk into these conventions knowing as much as they need to about the organization, about the people in the organization, and about what has been done and what has not been done since some of the leaders took their seats in the Georgia GOP or the Georgia Republican Party, Inc.
Interesting stuff, Bill. It hasn't even gotten any clearer either. It's just,
It really hasn't.
yeah.
It really hasn't. And maybe like the rest of this, it's we're seeing tone deafness because who knows? Maybe they just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we will see. Let's talk about another product here, the Wellness Company. If you go to twc.health/CDM, let me bring up that banner.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at these emergency medical kits. They have a lot of different kinds. You can tailor to whatever your family needs. This happens to be the travel emergency kit, and I've actually used this multiple times in the last month, traveling with different things that happened. So you can get the contagion kits, which has the nebulizer that work towards more respiratory issues. There are first aid kits. There is the spike support formula, and this is the ultimate spike detox. If you want to get rid of the spike protein, or at least it's been shown that the nattokinase in this does break down the spike protein from the vaccines, which is a toxin. That's why it's called Ultimate Spike Detox. Check this out. If you have somebody you're worried about with their blood, as far as been vaccinated or whatever, it's been shown to help reduce possibly the inflammation that can create in the body and cause a lot of other different types of things. So go to the emergency or go to the Wellness Company, twc.health. twc.health/CDM. Promo code CDM, you get 10% off. They're really revolutionizing healthcare. So I would appreciate it if you check it out and support our sponsors and take care of your family. You may need more than one kit, but check it out. And thank you for supporting our sponsors. Back to you, Bill.
Okay. So our next section, we want to talk about something happening at the national level. And it seems odd because everything that we hear about most things that we've heard about since Trump took office are happening at unbelievable speed, unheard of speed compared to previous administrations. Going through, and Elon today said much of what they were doing is going in and ripping through computer systems to try to fix them to make them work the way that they should. And then they're discovering all this data while they're going through it. That includes the USAID. It includes the other agencies and so forth that they've gone through. Now, keep in mind, we've shown in previous reporting, there's 450 agencies floating around the federal government. We think of the top 15 or 20, but there's a lot more beyond that. And we're just now getting into some of the others that may in fact produce bigger numbers, bigger results, bigger revelations than we've seen already. But already we're looking at folks look up at the debt clock online. They are tracking how much has been secured, found, clawed back by the Doge effort. And we're already up over, I think, $150 billion and climbing quickly. At the same time, there is this notion, and you'll remember that Tucker has said in previous months that perhaps one of the biggest things feared in Washington is disclosure. And others have said it too, the use of classification well beyond its original thinking and need. In other words, classifying things that really don't need to be classified just to keep them out of the public eye has been used extensively.
Like it's a default. I mean, it just classified, and so then it stays that way forever.
Right, unless unclassified by some other action. And there's very prescriptive ways that could happen, but often does not. And so many things are sitting there classified that we can't talk about. Notably, Trump promised that many of these would be quickly disclosed fully for the American people. He had mandated that the JFK remaining files be a plan for their release be produced, and it was due the first week of February, and in fact was apparently delivered. Then we find out that Anna Paulina Luna is going to be driving a special committee charged with ensuring that this disclosure happens. But now there appear to be some signs that certain things are starting to strip the gears, and we don't know why. So let me go over here for just a minute. So one of the first things I saw that gave me pause was Anna Paulina Luna, one of the reps from Florida, saying that on the 11th and 19th, the House Oversight Committee, of which she's a part, sent a letter to the DOJ asking for status on releasing the Epstein files as well as the JFK files. Now, Epstein files have been part and parcel of all of this, strange, inappropriate conduct charges, child trafficking, and other things that have been rumored about, but are now becoming much more mainstream in discussion. At that time that Paulina Luna released this post, she said the DOJ had not responded. This was sent out on the 24th, so 2 days ago. Reaching out on X because we can't seem to get a response from the AG, meaning Pam Bondi.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Pam Bondi is a Trump pick. Next thing we see is this from Lauren Boebert today, and this is on the 25th, so yesterday. Today would be a great day for Pam Bondi to release the Epstein files. The truth will set us free. And then Anna Paulina Luna, she's leveraging it. Note Anna Paulina Luna saying that, they see that Pam Bondi is reviewing the files and we're all looking forward to the release, really encouraging her to get something done. And this is this morning or last night, Anna Paulina Luna says the files will be released through the National Archive. And she was given a commitment that once declassified, the JFK files will be fully accessible to the public, which is what I'm hearing everybody wants. Nobody wants hearings. Nobody wants others' assessment of what's
further review. Nobody wants further review.
Right. They want, let's get, we're all big people. We're all adults. Get the files released as has been promised. And we're kind of getting used to this notion of promises these days. Yeah. Well, just a little while before airtime tonight, we caught wind of this letter that came back from the DOJ to Anna Paulina Luna. And it reads to me, this is my opinion, this reads to me like almost a form letter. The integrity of criminal investigations and prosecutions is essential to every component of the department's mission to uphold the rule of law, keep our nation safe, protect civil rights. The department remains committed to meeting its legal record-keeping obligations as it pursues that mission. We are reviewing your request and look forward to engaging further to accommodate your oversight and legislative needs. The only thing it doesn't say to me, hold please.
Mm-hmm. Well, we need to point out that Anna Paulina Luna is a legislator, and she doesn't have executive function, so she can't force these to be released. It's the executive office, the AG. All she can do is encourage and watch and make sure and talk about whether it happens or not.
That's right, and it's interesting. I can't really zoom this at the moment, but I'm not sure whether Pam Bondi's signature was fully on this document or not. But the point is, all of a sudden, with all this other stuff moving forward, there was just an announcement today that they're planning on closing 120 IRS offices around the country, ostensibly because they're not efficient and aren't really needed. Yet we have this halt, apparently, as it's being referred to by other independent journalists, halt on disclosing the information that who knows how sensitive and how important this is to understanding what's happened with our country. So we need to stay on this, and we will be looking at this through the next days to find out what in the heck is going on and what are they going to do to get this stuff actually released.
So real quick, before we go to the next thing, there's a big push to possibly revalue gold. There's a lot of shipments of gold coming into the U.S. If you watch Tucker's interview, I think last night or the night before, on the new financial system being built based on a gold commodity-backed currency and possibly revaluing gold on the books of the U.S. to the market price, which is really going to create a lot of demand. If you have a portfolio, you need to make sure that you're exposed to precious metals, especially if it's in your IRA, a longer term investment, because we could be in some rocky times financially. Go to Advisor Metals, go to cdmmetals.com. You can find them there, and you can put your name in there and they'll contact you. It's an easy conversation. They're not going to harass you, but have a conversation about metals. Do you need them in your IRA? Should you transfer some over into a gold-backed IRA and protect your portfolio, especially if you got a few $100 grand from your life's work that you need to take care of. So cdmmetals.com. Thank you, Bill.
That's great. One last thing before we get ready to close. There will be a presentation at the Republican Women of Hall meeting tomorrow evening, Thursday, the 27th. And speaking at that event will be both David Cross, who is now running for chairman of the GOP of Georgia, and also Garland Favorito from Voter GA. And they'll be bringing folks up to speed on their areas of expertise. And I'm sure David will be talking about his plans for the GOP should he be elected into the chairmanship of that organization. And Garland has some new information that's becoming available on election integrity. So just want to make sure people knew about that.
Excellent. Well, that's all I got, Bill. We'll see you, Sunday at 2:00?
Sunday at 2:00 or earlier if we have something that's just massively breaking. I do want to have just a little fun as we close, and then we'll go straight to our outro. There was a very interesting special video meme that Trump shared earlier today, and I thought that would be fun to share with folks.
Put it out there. It's pretty humorous.
To set you free, bringing the light for all to see. No more tunnels, no more fear. Trump Gaza is finally here. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza #1. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza #1.
All right. We'll see you again on Sunday. Thanks.